Man, the dreaded unnamed talent evaluator in the National Football League, that guy, whoever that guy is, they got a lot to say every year. Lots to say every year. Year in, year out. That's that time of year now. And you got to figure out, is this unnamed individual trying to do what? Get others to maybe agree with this assessment, so the player that you're publicly trashing without putting your name on it is drops? Is that sort of gamesmanship, that maybe you create some form of a narrative and the player drops? I don't buy that. I know that you see gamesmanship, but it's just like, well, wait a minute. Maybe all of our evaluation of Shadur Sanders is way off because somebody thinks he's brash and arrogant. We can't draft him. No. Somebody's grinding an axe about what I think is the 21st century college athlete coming into the league, and everybody who might feel this way in the NFL best get used to it. Because players who come into the NFL now have been paid, and very well and handsomely, for their craft. And so I understand that you might see a red flag when you see a backwards hat, or you might see 6 figures of bling while the player doesn't work out at the combine, because you might think that that individual feels they've already made it and they don't treat what's in front of them as an opportunity, and certainly when you draft them will not realize it's an opportunity then and won't take it seriously because they feel they've already made it, because it's about showing your success with something that is material as opposed to something that is intangible, which is hard work and dedication, and that it becomes immaterial about winning and losing and being a leader of men because it's all about the bling and the flash and being talked about. But players who come in now come in as professionals in terms of being paid. Get used to it. Get used to it. And that might lead also to players not working out at the combine, which, as we discussed yesterday, is a big problem for me. Certainly as somebody who just spent 21 live hours over 4 days talking in hushed tones about 3 cone drills. Yeah, I want to see the stars work out. And just wait. We're going to see somebody come to the combine and say, well, why aren't you working out? Well, I'm not getting paid for it. Well, if you work out, you might get paid more by the time you're drafted. Oh, it doesn't matter. I need a check now.
I'm kind of shocked that hasn't happened.
I'm not wearing that
already.
New Era stuff. I'm an Adidas guy. I'm blah, 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 blah. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And it just comes down to the evaluation of who the kid is and what you see on tape. And it's just a story. It's not as old as time. It's as old as since the late 80s of a guy named Sanders being totally misread. Totally misread. It's amazing to me. Now, I know he's not Dion. I get it. But he is the son of Dion. And if you think that the son of Dion is going to not take this as a serious opportunity, if you think the son of Dion is not going to show up and be a complete pro, first in, last out, and knows that the neck up stuff is a differentiator. Not just their abilities and ability to throw, their ability to be prepared and sneak up on you about being prepared and professional while you're talking about the flash, then you're out of your mind. And again, I'm still, I haven't had a sit-down conversation with Shedeur. I did see him at the Combine a couple of times. And if you saw his press conference, he is personable. He is a guy who has humility. He is somebody who does treat his role seriously. And he will come into this league fully prepared and prepped for it. And also, on top of it, I mean, he's not going to shy away from the spotlight. Don't you want that from your quarterback? Wouldn't that be a metric you want in your quarterback? That he's lived in the spotlight, he's not concerned about the spotlight. Now, listen, if you think Cam Ward is better or Jackson Dart is better or Shuck is better or just keep naming it, then that's fine. That's fine. If you're looking at his tape and thinking that he doesn't have this ability or that ability, because now you're hearing some people saying that there's not even a first-round grade on him, then fine. Then pass on him at your peril. But if you think that he's not somebody who takes this entire thing seriously, just remember who is prepping him for this next level. And in terms of just, the crazy thing about Dion is, even now, do people think that he's more about the flash, right? He's more about, hey, watch me on my Tubi show. Watch me on my documentary. Watch me here. Watch me there. While he builds a staff and gets better every year. And I mean, dude, he took Travis Hunter from Florida State and told him, come to Jackson State. And then he brought him from Jackson State to Colorado. Mm-hmm. And okay, now a lot of people were thinking when Travis Hunter did that, they're like, what's he doing? He's going to turn down Florida State to go to Jackson State just to go with Dion? What's Dion done? What's he proven? What's he ever proved? Right? Oh, gosh. And so then when Dion goes to Colorado, what, he's going to go to a one-win program with a guy who's never coached at this level before? What's he doing? What's he thinking? And all Dion's done is turned out a friggin' unicorn who won the Heisman Trophy and is the best corner and wide receiver in this year's draft. And it's up to you to decide how are you going to split the reps. He actually took you can't even call what he had straw, and you can't even call what he is now gold. But no. Dion's not serious. Okay. Now, throughout my conversation here about, Shedeur's brash and arrogant, and you heard this from a quarterback's coach who's unnamed, and so apparently he's been in some meetings at the Combine, not engaged fully. He's in these meetings, and he's not interviewing off the charts with everybody. And in terms of that, let's remember who is coaching him up on this. When we were at the Super Bowl in Atlanta, I forget what year it was. What year was the Super Bowl in Atlanta? 2019.
That was 2019.
Okay. Yeah. January 2019. Very good. And we were in Atlanta. Dion came on our show at the Super Bowl. And the first thing we talked about was Atlanta and how when he was going through the draft process, he fell in love with Atlanta. He's in a draft class, by the way, look it up if I'm not mistaken. It was Barry Sanders was in that draft class.
It's absolutely loaded.
Correct,
Tony
right?
Mandarich.
Well, Mandarich was taken second overall, I believe.
Yeah.
Was Aikman first, right?
Troy was first.
Barry?
Dion.
All right. So there was some serious talent in this draft, to say the least.
4 of the first 5 picks are Hall of Fame.
Who's the fourth one we're not mentioning?
Derek Thomas.
Derek Thomas,
yeah.
that's right. May he rest in peace. Yep. Okay. So Dion knew, there was some competition at the top, but he also knew he wasn't going to last very long. And he said he really wanted to go to Atlanta because when he went there as a kid from Fort Myers, Florida, and he went to Atlanta and he saw a city where there were people of color in positions of power in a way that he'd never seen before. And that's where we pick up this soundbite that I want to play for you on this day where his son is accused of not giving it his all in certain interviews at the Combine.
I had truly never seen African-American people in such roles and positions and titles that I had never seen it in my life. And it blew my mind. City officials, doctors, lawyers, political figures. It blew my mind. So I said, that's where I want to go because I knew the dude I was. I was non-apologetic. I was brash. I was going to be me. And I felt like Atlanta would at least understand me. And I said, I'm not going to you. Don't draft me. I'm going to play baseball if you do. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. And
sure enough, Atlanta was
number
the
5 pick. I was so happy I didn't know what to do, man.
And I also love the story that you've told, and if you wouldn't mind telling the audience here as well, at the Combine, when you would be pulled into rooms. and you didn't know which room you were being pulled into by which team.
Yeah. I was, it come back in that day. Everybody was reaching for it. Agents was in the hotel. Yeah. Everybody was everybody.
Now it's all scheduled.
It was scheduled, structured. You can't be in a hotel. You can't be on the premises. Then it was everything was wild. So I'm backing away from crowds and people trying to grab me, and I backed into this room, and the Giants was there, and it was the Giants room, and they had people sitting down taking these tests. What do they call these things?
Oh, yeah, like the psychology test, right?
I mean, the thing was that thick, man. And I sat down, and they gave me this thing. And what is this? They say, it's this test, and, we need you to take it. I said, oh, what pick do you have? It's like the 10th. I said, I'll be gone for then. So I got up and walked out. I'll be gone. I'll be way gone for then.
So let me ask you, hearing this, if this is the man who is counseling Shadur, if he's looking at his watch and is not engaged in the interview process, is it because he's brash and arrogant, or he's not taking it seriously, or he's giving you an indication we're not a match, in my estimation? Now, let me give a little bit of the pushback.
I can do it as well.
I know you can, but let me do it, and maybe it dovetails.
Okay.
That this is not Dion in terms of talent. This is not Dion in terms of surefire talent. He may not even be the most talented quarterback in this draft. And that by potentially taking this approach in meetings, if this is in fact the case, he's potentially cutting his nose off to spite his face, that you never know what could be a match. You never know what could possibly be a good spot. You never know. And what was good for Dion is not great for Shadur. He also might not have been doing this in these meetings. Don't know. And it's not the best face to put forward when you can put other faces forward.
That's true. I was going to say it's different between a cornerback, as Dion was, and the quarterback, who's supposed to be the leader, the face of the franchise. And when things go bad, they're the first person blamed.
No doubt. But when Dion was drafted by Atlanta, there's a reason why the Georgia Dome was called the house that Dion built. And you don't say that about a lot of corners, ever.
No, understood. But nationally, they're not blaming the defensive back when X, Y, and Z goes wrong.
Got it. I understand. But it's just a story. Listen, if you don't draft Shadur Sanders because you think his tape is this, that, the other thing, and he's just not that great, and his name is what elevates him, and then that's on you. That's fine. But if you're going to sit here and think he's not a pro and he doesn't take it seriously, well, that's a story as old as Deion Sanders first showing up on planet Earth. And he's still right? Am I wrong, TJ, that people don't look at what Travis Hunter looks like? Oh, Dion just rolled the footballs out with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He had nothing to do with his
Come
development,
on. He basically said, don't go to Florida State, come to Jackson State, I got you. And look at what we've seen.
You know how many people would have taken him on? Well, it's Dion, so I'm sure a lot. And my point being, to take the number one kid and have him turn his back on this somewhat of a powerhouse to come to a small school with you that hasn't proven anything? Come on, man. That's some Pied Pipers type stuff right there. And by the way, also, Rich, Dion, yes. But Shedeur had to play a huge part in getting these guys to come as well.
Of course.
It's not like he wasn't out there working. Not like he wasn't part of the reason some of these guys came.
So
Shedeur.
And the fact that he's not saying that, would that be a sign of, wait for it,
it starts with an H.
Humility?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Well, you know, last week we talked about this, and I told Susie, you know, they used to have a reality show, the Sanders. And when you watch,
I remember that.
Yeah, you watch 12, 13-year-old Shedeur with more confidence than a 40-year-old grown man. And it's like this kid at 13 had so much confidence in himself, and it's just translating now to a young adult. And but by the way, people's confidence, for some reason, offends other people who don't have that same trait.
But he's got his cap backwards, TJ.
Well, you know.
I mean,
That's a different show, Rich.
sorry.
Different show takes issue with the hats.
What?
It's the 20. Yeah.
Fellow
Jay,
Trinity
are you
Cats.
going to be serious about being our
Jay,
sound
what are we
engineer
doing?
today or what?
Oh, no.
The one day I wear a backwards hat.
no.
Come on, bro.
And he is the one guy in this room who could afford 6 figures of ice around his neck,
That's true.
too.
Yeah, you
saying?
probably could. Oh, there's a show out there who's so mad at you right now.
Right?
So,
I'm not aware. What show are we talking about?
Yeah, that's right.
don't worry about it.
It might be
Don't
where
worry
it might be
about
where
it.
Del Tufo's
Stop it,
working.
stop it, stop
So,
it,
Jay, you
stop
wouldn't
it.
go on a competing show that's on at the same time as ours?
Okay. It's called Spell Our Name Right, pal. All right? That's what it's called.
That's funny.
I think I made my point. Listen, I am biased when it comes to the Sanders family, but I also know, you know, what they tick like when the cameras are not on, and it's that simple. It really is that simple. But it creates the heat. They welcome the heat. They welcome the buzz. They welcome all of it. It does help to actually shove it back in people's faces with wins. And for the first 2 years of Colorado, it's been a step forward in improvement. And that's why a lot of people root against. That's why a lot of people root against. But unnamed person, you know, whatever. It just takes one.
Right.
That's why I don't believe it's like, oh, we really like Shedeur, so let's put it out there that you shouldn't take him. And other teams will be like, oh, okay. Hey, scouting departments, we're pushing back on you. Did you hear what the unnamed quarterback coach of an unnamed team said? Well, we better go back and do our homework. Like I just never believe that sort of stuff. It's just somebody grinding an axe, not liking what 21st century NIL paid players look like. And certainly if they're in a meeting and they know, I don't want to go to your team, and he might look at his watch a couple times. That pisses you off, and then you go run off and tell somebody something. But I just wanted to give you my perspective on it. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.